If an Age of Empires dev finds this by any chance, can you maybe add in, I don't know, a key binding for pause and unpause? I don't know why we have like an increased speed and decreased speed, but not a pause one. That's confusing me. But anyway, let's get underway because welcome back to more 1v1s. Surprise, surprise. This channel posting 1v1s from high-level players. Say it ain't so. No, say it is so. That's exactly what we want. And that was me accidentally not having free camera on, guys. That's what it looks like when we get the players' view, apparently. It's a bit janky. I don't think that's exactly how it is. If they are playing like that, my God, your eyes, you poor soul, you probably never watched anything that was above 20 frames in your life. But yes, let's talk about what we've got here, because we've actually got Abbasid Dynasty up against the Mongols, and the Mongols are in the blue. It's fitting. Abbasid over here in the red. And it's going to be Probe versus Kiwian. These are two StarCraft 2 vets. They have played quite a lot, and they have won a decent amount. I would say like a very solid amount by Age of Empires standards, amount by StarCraft standards, because of course that game has millionaires, so anything else is just right? But they've won, I think they both won at least over the $30,000 point in their careers. So they're not too bad, all right? That's more than I've won. I've won, I don't even know what it was, 250? God, I sound so arrogant. God, I don't remember how much I've won, guys. Maybe $250. It doesn't matter to me. I just throw the money up in the air and go, woohoo! And then I just set it on fire because I actually I buy things in pounds, not dollars. But no, yes. And that was in Warzone, so I'm not going to brag to be the pro in Age of Empires. So we'll have to see what these two pro-level players can do. Because we did see a very early House of Wisdom drop, actually. That was kind of interesting to me. I feel like sometimes we see players delay this a little bit in favor of getting a wood line up quicker, right? And then you come back to the House of Wisdom because, honestly, at this stage in the game, it's not giving you anything, right? Unless you can afford the tech up, you're not getting value there. Then you also have to consider that you're not getting any value on the Golden Age, right? Because you can go, oh, yeah, but it helps towards the Golden Age. And yes, you do need it for the Golden Age. But getting the lumber camp up quicker, in my opinion, tends to feel like the more efficient play. It might depend on what you want to do as your opener, though, right? Like, definitely mining camp first. I just like the idea of the lumber camp a little bit earlier, but I can understand why he maybe doesn't bother with it if he wants to keep more people on food to begin with. And then he has like this kind of, you know, smoothed out timing. Like I said, he's the pro, I'm not. So I imagine this is more to do with him like hitting that very specific timing where he'll have the food and gold more or less at the same time. You can see at the top, right? It's actually starting to count up at an equal rate. So this does feel like it's intentional. Meanwhile, Kiwi already ready with the pressure. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I was maybe thinking that being on the wood line more present, more early would have been better. Just because you're up against a Mongol player, right? So the potential to rush you is there. You have to be consciously aware that this is a Civ that is renowned for rushing, right? So having access to that extra wood would allow you to actually get a barracks early. Meanwhile, because he didn't, look what's happening. The spears are slowly moving in, although they're being attacked by wildlife that hate rushes. And he still doesn't have enough wood to even build a barracks yet. He has got 5 people on there, so he will very quickly get the required amount. And it is very hard for this small quantity of spearmen to breach. So that is the thing to be highlighted. But what it will allow Kiwian to do is what we see quite often out of these Mongol players, which is the outpost drop, right? For that mobility, for the potential harassment. And with 2 spearmen, that will guard off against double scout. So a little bit of a rough one. You're going to see the outpost is going up from Probe. And if the spears were quick to move in, they'd be able to deal with this. But looks like it's going to be too late. So outpost will go up to secure the gold line. And Kiwian, with his own outpost, is going to be late. Fairly late. That being said, he can just keep aggression on his outpost and repair, right? So it's not going to be the end of the world. Of course, this outpost being here is something that Probe's going to have to address because it will stop him from using the gold line, and that's kind of the big difference here. I like that about Kiwian's placement, right? It's actually very nicely placed to achieve that situation where, oh, you know, I'll harass his gold line, but, you know, it's not going to be able to breach deep with his own outpost that he is able to, like, kill things sitting behind my outpost. It's a really nice placement. Meanwhile, back in his space, he's going to start getting on the gold now because, remember, he was heavy on the wood and food to produce these early spearmen and this outpost and get that harassment out. So he actually hasn't been prioritizing teching up yet. Meanwhile, Probe is almost done with it. So you can see he's got 40 seconds left on that eco wing, and then he can start to get quite spooky with these archers. Something his opponent isn't really able to do yet. Because remember, archery range is a lot behind Tech 2. Once he does get Tech 2, we could see a Magadai play. I think it's tough if an Abbasid player is this kind of stingy on his spread. Right? If you actually look at it, Probe is playing a very tight economy. right? Like the wood line isn't really exposed. In fact, he's prioritizing the inner trees, so that he doesn't reveal his villages. His gold vein is now protected by the outpost, and food-wise, like he hasn't even gone the berry bushes yet. That's how kind of controlled he's being. I'm actually somewhat surprised he didn't try to go berry bushes first, but I think against a Mongol player, maybe this was intentional, in that potential rush had him threatened, right? If he was against a slower civ like England, he probably would have went on the berry bushes and then eventually been forced back to the sheep, but that would have meant that he would have had safe eco to rely on underneath his TC for longer, while trying to, in the meantime, get the more risky food out of the way quicker. So probe now teched up. Looks like Kiwian is beginning to get the Deer Stone done. Almost halfway there. Should get about the 7-minute timing maybe. So about a minute and a half advantage for probe. And this is going to allow him to start building that archer army. And he will have superior numbers in that regard. Remember, Magadai are, although mobile, they are very short-ranged and they are much more expensive. So if Kiwian does opt to go into that mobile ranged army of the horse archers, of his horse archers, the Magadai, then he's going to be at a distinct disadvantage against probe on the Abbas's own territory, right? When you talk about these archers in mass. So Spears. Engaged with the village line. That did burn down the outpost. A nice move there by probe. Didn't even cost him a single villager either, so I love that. Just very quick reactionary plays. Probe doesn't have much more to focus on right now. Like, his scouts are keeping an eye on what his opponent is doing. But other than that, it's all on his own base, right? The only reason he's got his scouts out here is he wants to see what's coming next. And he does see that Kiwian is finally teched up. He didn't actually hang around long enough to gather extra info. I'm a bit disappointed in that. I think it would have been cool to have stayed in the neighborhood so you could have seen what he was going to build into. But I guess he feels quite confident that he's counting out anything he has to be worried about for the moment. In the meantime, he'll continue to just build up these houses, and that's going to be the one that triggers the Golden Age. So this is where we'll start to boost up that 10% gather rate on all resources. When you look at the village count as well, I mean, probe. So they're actually even. So efficiency 100% going to be in probe side with that extra 10%, right? And the only thing I am a bit worried for probe right now is this gold vein is super covered, right? You've got 2 outposts down now, which means that you can no longer gather gold here. So probe needs another answer, and he needs it quick. Because he can't really do much without that gold, right? Even if he wants to try and get his hands into, say, what can you go for? I think you have to actually just have to get a battering ram, right? I think that's the one cool thing to say here is there's a lot of civs in this situation that would have been screwed, right? They would have not been able to get the gold. They wouldn't have been able to get into the blacksmiths to afford the siege engineering. So I'm pretty sure that takes gold. And then you feel like you're screwed in the game. Like, what do? I can't get my gold because it's outpost. I have to go for a risky gold outlier, and then maybe I get harassed by Mongols. The cool thing about the Abbasid dynasty, though, is they already are able to build battering rams and siege towers. Not that you build a siege tower, don't ever do that. But the battering rams is the important part here. He can build them without having the research from the blacksmith. And that's a huge saving, folks. You shouldn't underrate how much that is, right? Not only do you not have to research the tech, but you also don't have to build the blacksmith, which costs 150 wood itself. Now push across. Outpost attempt to be built by Kiwian is going to be a fail here. He'll try and back up. But remember, these villies are pretty slow. Not benefiting from the yam speed movement. And while a Q attempt there by Kiwian probably didn't get the memo, because the movement speed buff does not work on villages. In fact, I think it even says as much. Yeah, it does not affect villages. So he loses multiple villages here, wastes the flare, achieves nothing with the maneuver arrow as a result. And that's going to be painful. And that's the rough thing about the placement of the Deer Stone. The Deer Stone is optimal for charging these units as they get produced, right, out of the military infrastructure. But it sucks for retreating your forward Villi line, right? These guys would have benefited so much. If they had that extra movement speed, 1.29 tiles, I think maybe probe snipes out one of these villages and the rest get away. Instead, kills off multiple and builds the battering ram. And eco situation right now, Kiwian at 28 and probe just hit the 31. So definitely eking out an advantage. We already said that it's more efficient as well with that gather rate, courtesy of the Golden Age. And he's going to look to pile on more pressure. So probe's got to be frustrated, right? Like, he's like, God damn it, Kiwi. You couldn't just let me have my gold. Okay? We could have lived. We could have existed. Could have prospered even. But now I've got to bring the pain. We'll see if he can do exactly that. This is moving with the battering ram. Archers are exposed. Now, they are under the yam speed buff, right? So you have the mobility advantage as Kiwian, but you have to engage. And he's moving him in now. But the villagers get baited as a result. But the spearmen get exposed now to the TC. And the archers, it's really hard. Because in this situation, Probe has to commit. Kiwi could try and kite him out, but if you ever have to run away, you will be chased. Battering ram in. Villagers will try to move around now. Probe playing this pretty well off the baiting with the battering ram. Looks to engage the archer line again. We'll start to snipe them out one by one. Can't find the villagers though, and the count right now is still in favor of Probe. But Kiwian is holding well on this home ground here. And remember, he's double producing out of this archery range on a regular basis due to the Uvu. So even with the extra spearmen, they get sniped out too quickly. That does give the gap for Probe to keep his archer advantage, but still not getting value out of this battering ram is the problem. And you have to wonder if he should have went to the north. I feel like it's greedy to go into the center for the TC with one ram. Especially on home territory. So the trades are going to come out, but once again, Probe, these are not good trades. Kiwi's just going to push him back. The battering ram, once again, is, I will say this, is at least wasting the time of the villagers. There's multiple villagers here that are not working at all. And the other thing to highlight here is that Probe, he's keeping his opponent in his base, right? Probe can begin to like amp up, he can look to tech up potentially. Kiwi is constantly reacting and constantly trickling out more troops. And he'll back off finally. So we knew it was going this way. It was always going to end like this, when he was going to lose too many troops. I think Probe kind of knew that as well, but from his perspective, it's like, oh, he's investing just as much in a military, and he's got villagers not working. But what now is the question, right? Do you go for a tech up? Do you try and pivot into a different unit type? Like, what can you really pivot into? You could go for the camel archers, but then you get bonus against spearmen, right? They're pretty irrelevant against the archers. That being said, if he had gone military wing, different situation, right? You would have been able to get the armor, which would be pretty nice. I don't know if he goes military wing for castle. That's what I'm thinking right now. If I'm probing the situation up against a Mongol player like this, where I'm eking out a slight eco advantage, I think going and doubling down on the economy side of things is a bit of a bait. I think the extra armor could allow you to get in at the start of the castle age and probably end this game before Kiwi catches up again. Still, gold is the problem though, right? We talked about this already. Probe, he finally expanded, and that was the kind of cool thing about him pressuring his enemy's base. Is this, what would have been an incredibly vulnerable gold line, was fairly safe, right? Because there's been no pressure on this side of the map. In fact, the only pressure that Probe has had on his side of the map for the last few minutes has been these outposts attacking the mining camp. The mining camp that is always repaired. Reason being is he wants to keep it up because it also does help get into the golden ages, right? So it has that nice additional benefit. And now the stable's been dropped. So I like this move. This should just be the horseman spam. We see it a lot from Abbasid Dynasty. I think it's like, I'd say probably the second most seen unit in the first 3 ages for me is for Abbasid Dynasty in these games so far has been horsemen. Right, and then you get archers as well. But horsemen, we talked about how effective these units are. And considering your opponent is only building into the archers, even on his home territory with this Yam Speed buff, which is significant at 1.44 tiles for the infantry in this situation, the Horsemen, of course, will be superior in that regard to be able to close rank, as they do move at 1.82. Did I remember that right? No, 1.88. Damn it, why do you think 82? It's because, I know why. Lancers are 1.62, right? Yeah, I was like 1.88 or 1.82. But yeah, 1.88 is more than enough to gap close. And if you catch Kiwi on the offensive, he's going to lose the whole army. Keep that in mind, right? This Yam Speed will run out eventually. By the time you reach the base, you've maybe got less than half duration left. And once you're in that situation, running away is going to become quite difficult for the Mongol player. Archer lines engage. 25 up against the 30, so number advantage for Kiwi, but here come the Horsemen. The Riders of Rohan are on their way, and that's going to force a retreat quickly. Remember, they get this bonus damage up against the archers, so they will just drop very quickly against the horsemen. He's trying to snipe them out one by one, but that gives time for the archer line to engage while you're distracted by the horsemen. So get through them. Notice the micro is better right now from Kiwi as he's splitting up the groups, but he's not doing it effectively enough. He still hasn't dealt with this one horseman, and more trickling in, so Kiwi is going to lose this force. And meanwhile, the battering ram continues to just chugga-chugga-choo-choo all the way through. Now Archer advantage clearly is there for Probe. Probe has started to split up the micro, so he's not just engaging one target at a time. And Kiwi, what is the solution? What are you doing in your base right now? Because all he's doing is building more archers. That is not the way to do this, though. Yet he continues to double down on the archer count. And the reason this is not the solution, folks, is because it's a double stable drop out of probe. So he's able to keep up the count. The problem that Kiwi has is he doesn't have this info, right? He can maybe start to feel like this is double horseman spam, considering how quickly they were replenishing. But he doesn't know for sure that it's not one stable, which is why he thinks he can just continue to Archer, and that'll be good enough. And in fact, there you go. See, he's going to up that production, a third archery range. I really think you need some spears, though. He's starting to produce them out a little bit. But remember, the spears aren't the best solution. It's just the only solution you have, because, of course, the spears have to close rank. They're going to get sniped out by the archers. Then the horsemen move past and engage. It is going to be problematic no matter how you look at it. So Kiwi does lose the outpost. I like that he moved the Gur away. I feel like a lot of people forget to do this. It's very easy to forget that you can do this for your buildings. I think we saw the pristine example of how this can screw your game over yesterday when Xiao went to build his... Well, not yesterday, the day before. When Xiao decided to build his step redoubt next to the gold vein instead of at the safe point next to his TC, right? Like, that's another example of it. Obviously, a different situation here is you're retreating with the Gur. You built it out there originally. But what I'm saying is, like, people tend to forget that you can move these buildings, right? So we've seen high-level players like G-Wei, he'll do it as well, where he'll build his stable or whatever, his archery range right next to his TC. It's also optimal for his workers, and then he'll move them out onto the Uvu layer. But you know what? You want to talk about efficiency, optimal plans? Here's an optimal plan for you guys. 2 battering rams is better than 1. As Kiwi's going to find out the hard way. And oh no, he doesn't have wood! He can't repair this damage! Oh, this is pain. And here come the horsemen charging in. Not enough spearmen here. He didn't mass produce them. He should have been doubling down the production. And this is a problem because now the archer lines are just going to be disintegrated here. Villagers do charge out, though. However, a lot of them are being sniped by the archers. Look at the priority. The horsemen stay on the archers. Meanwhile, Probe just hits the economy of Kiwi. Even if he loses this battering ram, he says, I'm going to make it damn worthwhile. So battering ram will fall. Decent amount of villagers killed there. He lost at least 6 of these. I think it was actually 7 because 1 was already, being produced. So more eco damage done. Militaries are even right now. But look at the eco difference here. Kiwi, 39. Probe at 52. And they are both sitting on 1 TC. So no scaling like that. But it does mean that, the impact of losing one of these villas is definitely hard felt, right? You won't be able to replace them quickly. And I'm really hoping, is this the military wing? No, okay. Probe is a greedy boy. I will give him the credit that he is far enough ahead he could probably get away with culture wing, but I feel like you could have military wing to end this quicker. The reason military wing can be really good is about the armor for nearby infantry. That being said, I guess I understand why most players don't do military wing as a second. I think military wing is a wonky one right now in that, like, the third age, unless you are going up against like a cavalry civ, you're not going to build camel riders, right? So that's worthless. So then you talk about the other element, which is camel support, which you can get a feudal age tech up, right? And that is actually where it's good, right? You put 1 or 2 archers in, camels in with an archer and a spear line, and then you trade out and you win a feudal. If you're looking at castle age time, I think military wing sucks really hard right now. I just think camel rider shields is way too specific of a tech to actually be useful out of very niche, rare situations where, for example, you're up against France, right? But even then, like, France might just build arbors against your camel riders, so it's more like a composition force. Where it does come back in and is amazing, though, as you can see there, is when you talk about imp age with the boot camp, where you get the extra health on all of your infantry. So we'll see if he does that. I feel like I haven't been seeing that many players go for the military wing. I say that he switched up into... I'm not being an idiot here. He did actually... yeah, I'm definitely sure I'm not being an idiot here. He did have the culture wing originally selected. So interesting switch up coming out to go for the military wing after what we just said. I still stand by it. I think it's a very fair statement that like the camel riders kind of suck. What I will say is really nice, you can see here though, is the camel handling, the extra movement speed. So it could be that he's thinking of going for a camel archer army, and that would somewhat explain what he's doing here, but we'll have to see. So far he isn't starting to transition, so it's just he's just doubling down what he has right now. And a fight is going on. And remember, Probe could be potentially weaker if he's in the middle of his tech up. The problem is he's got such an eco fight, he doesn't feel weaker, and you can see it in the numbers right now. And this feels like an all-in for Kiwi, if anything. So while he'll achieve some pressure, I wonder if it's going to be enough. Archer line. He's outnumbered here. But remember, this is home territory, so Kiwi, while he is trickling in troops, Probes will trickle in much quicker, and he definitely has enough buildings to do exactly that if he wants to. Right now, just waiting. He's waiting for the tech up, and then he's going to spam out the man-at-arms. So here we go. 5 racks, or 4 racks here right now. There you go. Man-at-arms start to get triggered. And look at the back away. Kiwi straight away. He goes, no, what have I done? He thought he could be quicker. He's going to back off to build the batter rams, but You're about to be hard into Trouble Town here. By the time the battering ram's ready, it's going to probably be 8-man arms. And even with the Treacle, you're only building archers and spearmen right now. You have no solution. Absolutely zero solutions to men at arms right now. Here they come. And straight into the Springle, which looked like it bugly appeared out of nowhere, because that's I don't know why that's the way the graphic works, but that wasn't constructed yet, but it is now. And now we're about to see the power of the Abbasid Dynasty. Springle will slowly snipe out the battering ram. He'll have to back off completely. And Kiwi, he doesn't even have what he needs for a tech up is the problem here, right? He hasn't begun one. It's not like he's been doing it while we've been talking about this. And look at the harassment! Oh no, the probe, the horseman line. Just 3 horsemen, and they're going to get their value out of these lads. Not only by killing them and taking away that food they're carrying, but the amount of villagers that are going to die here. It seems Kiwi is going to luck out a bit. Probe was overly paranoid that the army was going to be back quicker. But still, once again, not only killing off those villagers, but stopping him from expanding onto this deer line. That's what it's about. He understands that Kiwi has got to be hurting on the eco front. So it's even more important right now for the Mongol player to get the advantage of like quicker gather rates on things like deer to try and get back into this game. Because if he's relying on maybe sheep back in his base, which he isn't, by the way, he's got nothing. And this is one of those wonky transitions I see a lot of Mongol players trip up on, is the switch over to pastures. A lot of them just don't do it anywhere near quick enough. And you end up with this locked out situation, right? Where if you do not get your hands on these deers, you've kind of lost the game. Because you have no way of getting an attack up. You have no way of replenishing your army. So it's really important that he actually fully invest the army in just repelling this small force here. But look at the time being bought. Look at what this done for Probe. This whole episode of delay that Kiwi has experienced has led to a 15-strong army of men-at-arms marching towards your base. An army that you do not have a solution for, remember. And now look, once again, he can't get the deer. Like, this is almost over for Kiwi. I think he's got like one fight ahead of him, and it has to be a fight where Probe really screws up. I don't know if that's going to happen. Especially now that he's got the camel archers in there, so he's got the buff from the camel support. We said it was really good, we said it was really effective, and he finds value for it at this stage in the game. I wouldn't say that the camel support really is going to be the difference at this stage in the game. It's just a nice benefit. I still stand by what I say, which is like often I think I can see where people come from the culture wing being better in Castle Age. But I think Probe has such a strong eco advantage at this stage in the game that that's why he went for the military wing. Is that slight edge further is exactly what he needed to just end this game now. And it definitely feels like it's going that way. As Kiwi, he retreats away the TC, but remember, the whole time it's moving, it's not producing workers. He's still not gathering food. And you can see he's been stuck at this 650 mark for quite a while. I think everything's about to go to 0 as everything's about to go for dead. As Probe moves in. All the villagers charge forward. Everything committed here, but the man-at-arms will cleave these lads down. Straight in to try and snipe out the Springle line, but I don't know what for. Kiwi, you're just kidding. You're kidding yourself. You're kidding us. You're kidding everyone in the neighborhood. Well, the Springles are dead. Your army's about to be as well. The man-at-arms expose the archers. The villages aren't working. Nothing is working for Kiwi, as Probe not only probes his enemy for weaknesses, but strikes hard and strikes true.